Howdy, folks. It's Mr. Newfer here. Today, we're going to be working in Scratch to make our own maze game. This is a project that we had going on with the sixth grade. We always do it towards the end of the year. It's pretty cool. It's kind of like the first big video game that we make. Sorry for not posting videos lately. Been busy with state testing and all that kind of stuff. Keeps people running around, keeps schedules different. So now that we're kind of back to normal, let's wrap up our last project and throw it on Scratch. And then any other YouTube videos that come might be littler Scratch projects or maybe some fun stuff. So keep your eyes peeled for whenever I can post next. With that being said, let's get started because we got a lot of work to do here today. As per always, if you need to see anything again, please pause and rewind the video. I'll be moving kind of fast today, only because we have so much to cover. So with that being said, just like every other project, let's start by giving it a name. I'm just going to call mine Maze Game, something nice and simple. Once we've got that, we need to go ahead and choose our main character sprite and a backdrop. It's important when you choose a backdrop this time that you choose a backdrop that has not too many colors, maybe something like blue sky. I'm going to go with the one that's stars because it's mostly black and gray. It's pretty easy to work with. And then for my sprite, I'm going to go with the one I used in class, which was the hedgehog. You can choose whatever sprite you want, of course, but it's worth knowing that the bigger your sprite, like the more spread out it is, like if it's a person, the harder it's going to be to fit on there. Like let me show you my completed one, my completed game. I'm using this little hedgehog as our main character. So that way he can navigate around the maze a lot more easily. So I would choose one that's kind of a compact character, and I'm going to set his size to probably, let's say, 35. That seems okay, because we got to put him on the maze. So now that we have our backdrop and main character, we need to create our maze. So to do this, we're going to click on the stage over here, make sure we're selecting our stars background. And we're going to click on backdrops up here, and now we can start drawing. So it's important that you choose a color for your maze that's a lot different than any colors that are on your backdrop. So for me, I like to go with kind of this light greenish over here. It's kind of like a lime green. And I'm going to make sure that this is a vector graphic. Sorry, my thing is in the way. Let's put that over here for now. I clicked over here, so it started as a bitmap, and I'm going to convert that to a vector just because it'll make things a little bit easier in the long run. And then we're going to click on our little rectangle over here. Make sure you don't have an outline. And now we can start drawing our maze. So I'm going to start up here. I'm going to make just a big long chunk that we can use. Okay. And we'll make another piece down here. So I think it'll probably start. Let's make this one not so long. You might have to put some thought and consideration into this because we are making a maze and you want your maze to be kind of challenging. We'll have collectibles and stuff in here. So things for the players to grab at and work with. So there's that. We'll make a smaller one coming off of here. And you want to make sure that you make your rectangles big enough for your sprite to fit on. If it's not, you can always just draw another one like this. And you can use it to kind of stretch out and make your columns bigger like that. I want to end kind of over here. So I think we'll have this loop over. Yeah, I'm going to put my timer up there. So I want to make sure that we have enough room. So I don't like that one, so I'm just going to backspace it, and I'm going to make this one lower. Like that. We will eventually have a score and a timer up here, so I want to leave room on my backdrop for that. We're going to have two that come down. But one will not be correct. So this one will come over and over, and then it will come up here. I always like to put these little spirals in there and put a collectible inside of it. We'll go like that, and then we will finish that off up here. Make sure everything lines up so it stays looking nice and good over there. Nice and good, I said. Well, we're using great grammar today. We want this one to be a little thicker so we can fit on it better. And we want this one to be a little thicker so we can fit on it better. There we go. And our endpoint will be right about here. Sounds good to me. All right. Let's go ahead and start coding. So we're going to code on our hedgehog. So click over here on the hedgehog. And we're going to start by dragging our hedgehog to where we want to start our game. So mine will start up there. So for code, we're going to use 4 different events to control the movement. There are a lot of different ways to make movement in Scratch, but doing it like this, using one space key press and changing that to the button we need is going to be very helpful. So we'll start here, and we're going to make each of these an up, down, left, and right arrow. Up, down, left arrow, right arrow. Okay, and for our up movement, remember if we're looking at, let me show you a different backdrop. Where is XY coordinates? I think they're all the way at the bottom. Yes. If we're looking at our XY grid here, remember if we want to move up, that's going to be Y, and down is also going to be Y, but that will be negative. Same for left and right, that'll be on the X, right will be positive, and left will be negative for the X value. So with that being said and that in mind, let's make sure we're on our hedgehog. And to move up, we're going to change Y by 10. To move down, we're going to change Y by negative 10. To move to the right, we're going to change our X by 10. And to move to the left, we're going to change our X by negative 10. That's basic controls. So now if I hit buttons, you'll see we move. That's not quite enough for me, though. I like to point in the right direction when I move, because nobody really walks backwards that much. So when we're going to the left, we're going to point in the direction of negative 90. And when we go to the right, we're going to point in the direction of positive 90. So point in directions right over here. And then if we're going to be flipping stuff around, we need to use the left and right arrow keys. If we don't, he's going to turn upside down. So to fix that, we're just going to make sure we click on direction like this, and we click on left and right. Boom, easy. All right, now he should move in the right directions. Perfect. Okay, now we need to say if he's touching the backdrop, then we lose the game. So I'm going to make a new section over here that's going to start with the green flag. Now we're going to set up our conditions an if-then block, but we're going to need that to be in a forever block. So we're going to say forever and if-then, which is right below it. Okay. Now we need to say if we're touching any of the colors on our backdrop, we got to reset. So to do that, I have 2 colors, black up here and gray down here. So we're going to need to use an OR block. So if touching this or touching this, then we'll reset. And touching is up here, we're going to go by touching color. So we'll grab this one. Oops, I dropped out my operator on accident. Or touching this one. And then now to choose a color, we just click on the color that's already there. And we can use this dropper tool at the bottom to select colors that are on our backdrop already. So we'll go with this black. And over here, we'll go with this kind of gray. Perfect. You can barely tell that they're different, but they are a little bit different. And then, whenever that happens, we're going to go back to where we started. Pretty simple. We also want to broadcast a message, so we're going to go into events, and we're going to say broadcast a message. And I'm going to select new message and call this one back to start. Okay, now we have a way for whenever we need to go back to the beginning, we can broadcast that out and have it be received by other characters. And then the last one we're going to need for right now is going to be another when green flag clicked. This is just our initializer. We're going to say go to the place where we want to start, which is going to be go to XY. And we'll also say point in direction 90, so he always starts facing that way. Perfect. Now let's make our character. We're going to have a character at the end. For when we win, this character will say, yay, you did it. And hedgehogs like, what do they like? They like strawberries. So let's go find a strawberry. And we're going to make that smaller. So let's say 60. And I actually want him to always be costume number 3. Like, yeah, you did it. Or 4. Let's do that one, yeah. And I want to leave that so he's kind of on the maze and kind of not. So that when I touch him, he'll say, yeah, you won. Yay. All right. Now let's check out what this code is for this character. It's going to be pretty simple, actually. We're just going to say when the green flag is clicked. We're going to make 2 sequences. The first one will be if we're touching our hedgehog, then say you won. So if you chose a different character, I'm going to say Hedgehog, but that will always be the main character, just so we can hopefully avoid any confusion. So we're going to make a forever block. And we're going to say if we are touching the Hedgehog, which is in sensing, touching mouse pointer, we'll click that drop down and say Hedgehog. Then we will say, you won, you did it. Yay. And we're going to make another one for if we get sent back to the beginning. So when the green flag is clicked, nope, sorry, that was my bad. We should say when I receive back to start. There we go. And this one's going to say try again. With a little sad face, because why not? It's fun to have fun in Scratch. Let's have a little bit of fun with that. So there's that finished code on our winning character over here. And this will always be, or this will just be all the code we need for this guy. So now we're going to grab some collectibles. I'm going to go with the crystals because they're nice and small and easy. Go ahead and start with one. And we'll put the code on this, and then you can duplicate it and keep the code there. So that'll make it a lot easier. This one will also be very simple. We're going to say when the green flag is clicked, show. Because our goal is going to be to have this disappear whenever we get one. So when we show it, or when we click the green flag and restart our program, we want everything to show back up. So we're going to need a conditional statement. So forever, if then. And we're just going to say if touching Hedgehog, then hide. Sensing, touching Hedgehog, and then hide is in the looks blocks, down by the show block. So let's test this out. We're going to hit the green flag, and we're just going to run down here real quick and touch this crystal, and it disappears. When I hit the green flag, our Hedgehog goes back to where it should go, but it didn't show back up. Okay, when I clicked it again, it worked, so we'll call that fine. And last thing we want to do for our collectibles before we go ahead and make more of them is we're going to make a new variable. So go ahead and click over here on variables. This will be the highlight of the next unit is making variables, but it's worth knowing now. So we're going to click on make a variable. We're going to call this one score. And we're going to make this for all sprites. Now on our Hedgehog, we need to say when we click the green flag and it takes us back to the beginning, we need to set our score to 0. So we're going to say set my variable to 0. Bring it over, and we'll click the drop down and select score. Okay, we're all set with that one. And we'll go back to our little crystal guy, and now over here we're going to say change my variable by 1. And we'll put that on top, and we can change that to score. So this says if we're touching the Hedgehog, our score will go up, so score is up here, and it will hide. And I'm also going to drag this over so it's on the other side. That's why I left room up here on the maze. Now I can make this one bigger so it fits in there, but I'm not going to do that quite yet. Instead, we're going to go ahead and duplicate this. Let's say 2 more times. So now we have other crystals hanging out, and we can hide those around our maze. If you really wanted to, you could put it like a door here and say if score equals 3, then hide your door so that you can go on to finish the level. But we're not going to do anything too complicated like that today. Last thing we need to do is grab an enemy sprite. So I'm going to use the bat, and we'll put him, let's say right here. We're going to make him a lot smaller though. So he's at 100. Let's try 50. That should be okay. This is going to make this thing a little bit more challenging, but it's going to work out because we want our games to be a little bit difficult. We're going to start this guy right on this side, right under our Hedgehog. So on the enemy sprite, we're going to have to do a bit of code on this, but it's nothing too complicated. So we're going to say when the green flag is clicked, point in direction 90, because we always want this guy to be right up. I'm going to go to costumes real quick and get rid of... We'll get rid of these two, because I just want him to be able to flap around. So we go back to our code. Sorry, I should say that a little bit smoother. I got rid of costume C and D, because now we can flip between these and it'll look like he's flying more. So now we can make an animation for him. So we're going to say whenever we hit the green flag, he goes back to where he's supposed to start, and he points in the right direction. And we'll make sure he's on costume A. So if we initialize our costume, that means we're setting up an animation loop. So now we're going to say forever, go to your next costume, which is in looks, and wait for 1 second. And we'll change that to say like 0.1. So if I hit the green flag, slap him pretty quickly there. You can make this 0.1 bigger if you want to, but I'm okay with it. And then to get him to move around, we're going to say move 10 steps. And if he's on the edge, we want him to bounce. So if on edge bounce is towards the bottom of motion, I'll pull that one over down there. So if I zoom out just a little bit, you can see the whole sequence. And if I hit the green flag, now he moves across the map. We can set this higher. So if we put this at 15, he's going to move a little bit faster. There we go. And that should give us enough time to escape him when we need to. Oh, he flips upside down. That's no good. To fix that, we're going to click over here and make sure he's set to left right as well. So that should work out just fine like that. And there he goes. He stays in the right position and orientation. Next up, we're going to make one more sequence for this bad boy. Literally, he's our villain. When the green flag is clicked, we want to set up a condition. So for forever, and we're just going to say if he's touching the hedgehog, then we'll send him back to the beginning. We're going to broadcast back to start. So if touching our hedgehog is going to be in sensing, I'm going to scoot this over now. We'll click on mouse pointer, make sure it's hedgehog. And we'll have him say something like, gotcha. And we will once again go to events and broadcast our back to start message. So this is all the code for our bat. If you need it, you can pause here, but we're actually almost done. Now on our hedgehog, we just got to change up a little bit. We need to say, if we're touching the bear, not the bear, sorry. If we're touching the bat, we're going to need to go back to the beginning. So we're going to grab another if-then block, and we'll put it inside of this forever block we already have. And we're just going to say if touching bat. My bad. We want to do this code on our hedgehog. So let's go back to the hedgehog, and we're going to move this sequence down. Now we can do it. We're going to say if, then, and we're going to say touching bat. So sensing, touching mouse pointer, and click on mouse pointer so we can get bat. If touching bat, then we're going to go back to the beginning. So that's our go-to XY. And make sure you have them where you want them to go. And we will also broadcast back to start again. That way we got all of our bases covered. So now if we try this out, run down here and collect this, you'll notice our score goes up in the top right. See if I can fit on this one. Yep, I can. Oh, so see I missed it there. I missed it there. So the program works, but I need to change the backdrop to make some of these mazes bigger. So we're going to go back to click on our backdrop. And we've already got our rectangle filled up and our fill here. So I'm going to make this bigger on this side. And I'm going to make this one bigger over here. Notice how I'm not adding too much, but just enough to kind of make things a little bit easier for us. Line that up. Come on, please. There we go. Now let's try this again. Go back to our code. All right, we'll try this out. I got a lot more room there. Shoot. Oh, the bat's coming. There we go. Oh, I thought I avoided it. So notice how much difficulty it's going to add to our programs. But yes, I made one that's too hard for me, but it works. There again. You won! You did it! Yay! All right. So that is our maze game. We could always add a lot more to this, but for a purpose of a YouTube video, I try to keep them as short as I can. This one's going to be a longer one, but thank you guys for sticking around. If you have this missing, please add it to our Scratch Studio and just let me know. that you turned it back in so I can grade it later on. Thank you very much for checking it out, and I hope to see you in the next one.